Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Cupid's Coach podcast. I'm your host, Julie Ferman, inviting you to transform me to we through your very own process of doing that thing called dating a little better than you used to. Now, today's a spicy one, folks. I understand that if you have a podcast that has something related to sex in it, you get a lot more listeners and viewers than you do if we're not talking about sex. But that's not the only reason why I invited Jeff on the program. Jeff Abraham is a very interesting man who's going to talk to us today about sexual wellness, sex today, and in particular, a topic that's difficult to talk about. And we will get to it in a minute. Welcome to the program, Jeff.
My pleasure to be here.
I love behind you, it says Promescent. That's how we say your company name, right?
Promescent.
Promescent. Better in
Yes.
bed. Better in bed.
Yes. That's our tagline.
I love your tagline. So you've been engaged in the whole world of sexual wellness for a long time now. How did you become interested in this? And tell us the particular part of sexual wellness that you specialize in.
Well, I probably took the most circuitous route ever in history to get to be the president of a sexual wellness company. And I owned a semiconductor engineering business that I founded. And I sold it and I retired when I was 53, which was 15 years ago. A neighbor, a friend, and the chief of urology at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach was all the same man, Dr. Ronald Gilbert. And so I went to see him for my yearly PSA and physical in 2011. And he said, "Hey, I developed this product and this company. I grew up rather poor and made myself very successful. Founded a company, did things the right way, and retired early." And he goes, "I know your story. Maybe you can help me. I founded this company." He goes, "I started a company," and he goes, "We have a treatment for PE." And at the time, in 2011, being 53 years old, I said, "You developed a treatment for physical education?" Because when I was in school, PE meant phys ed.
Right.
And he's like, "No, no, no, premature." I go, "Oh, like erectile dysfunction is ED. This is PE. Yes, yes, yes." One thing led to another. And I asked him, I said, "Is this RX?" He said, "No, it's over the counter." I said, "Give me a sample. Let me try it." And I thought it was a revolutionary type product. And I immediately invested in the company and became kind of an advisor. He had a high school friend, college friend running the company, and the guy was not that astute business wise and really was following a ridiculous path. This product was developed by a urologist. It had high efficacy. He was doing infomercials and doing exactly what you don't want to do. Buy one, get one free, discounting the product, and there's so many gas station boner pills and all these, I mean, complete nonsense products. And he was literally almost advertising that we're one of those, by following that script.
Mm.
And I immediately sought out and tried to steer them in another direction, said, "You need to follow the lead of Viagra." Pfizer had introduced Viagra, which is get medical credibility, get the doctors to speak of the product, develop some clinical trials, and then that will help you bleed into, just recreational and people who want to have better intimacy. And
Yeah.
long story short, in 2012, they asked me to take over the company, and I did.
And
And
you're the one who got the product on Dr. Oz, the Chicago Sun-Times, CNN. You're the one who kind of made
that
it.
would be me. And the
Okay.
only reason we got there is because we had medical credibility. We had
Mm.
all these top urologists, Dr. Laura Berman,
I
Emily
know the
Morse.
Bermans. I know the Bermans. Are they still doing what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sam, the husband, and Laura,
I
they're
know
good friends of mine.
I know the sisters. It's Berman and Berman. They had a show. Is that who we're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was on their show a long time ago.
One was a urologist at UCLA,
Yeah.
Jennifer Berman, then Laura, her sister, was the therapist.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was really
so
fun being on their show. So one of my burning questions is, had you experienced trouble in this area that, you wished you could hold, that you could, were you ejaculating prematurely? Were you wanting to stretch that out so that you could enjoy sex for a longer time? Did you experience that?
I never at the time had anything that would resemble clinical premature ejaculation. But as a normal man, there were times in my life that I was very aware that my partner hadn't climaxed yet and that I was close. And there'd be that little devil on one shoulder, little angel on the other shoulder. And the little devil's going, just get this feeling. It's going to be so great. Finish. And the little angel's going, no, wait for her. Like a lot of men, I had experienced that from time to time, depending on my partner. And so I was acutely aware that it would be nice if you could take that anxiety out of the equation, because anxiety and intimacy are two completely different feelings and they should never intersect, because anxiety kills intimacy. So let's talk about something that a lot of people, and I'm sure you're very well aware of. The average, we're not talking about premature ejaculation, we're talking about the average healthy male and female. The average healthy adult male lasts 5 minutes and 42 seconds during penetration and thrusting during intercourse. The average female takes 18 minutes of penetration thrusting to achieve climax. There's actually a term for it. Physicians call it the arousal gap, the orgasm gap. That's why there's 7 trillion vibrators in the world. That's why guys stop, start, think about baseball scores, think about their grandmother naked, all these things to try to get their mind off of, arousal and to allow themselves to last longer. So even in healthy males, there's a need to take that gap down. That's why a lot of guys go, I'm the master of cunnilingus, and they have a half hour of foreplay. All that is done to get the woman much closer to orgasm prior to starting any type of intercourse or any type of real serious, sexual play to achieve climax, so that you have a higher probability of both partners climaxing. So I realized there was a huge market. We had to get the credibility medically first, so that people who suffer with hardcore PE, and the definition of premature ejaculation by the International Society of Sexual Medicine and by the Sexual Medicine Society of North America, is never lasting more than 90 seconds ever under any circumstance, or whether it's self-play, oral, intercourse, whatever. I would beg to differ with them and say, if you last 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, you still could benefit greatly by having an enhanced IELT, which is inter-ejaculatory latency time. So we set about getting that medical credibility, and then going after the millions of men who are on the internet always scouring for ways to be better. Let's make one thing perfectly clear. The idea that there's $11 billion a year in ED medication sold to all people with ED is ludicrous, okay? Every man wants to perform at his best, like every female wants to be at their peak. When a man is 18 to 25 years old, and that's when he has his highest testosterone levels, he can get the most number of erections, he gets the firmest erections, the wind blowing, and he's suddenly aroused, as opposed to being my age, 68, where you're like, okay, I get one, episode per evening, and then I need 3 meals, a workout, you know what I mean? A 24-hour period if I'm ready for number 2. But it's one of these things that people always compare themselves to how they used to be. And it's crazy. You realize you've aged, you're at a different phase in your life, but you still yearn for when you can have multiple orgasms in an evening, when you can be at your absolute peak. So everyone strives for that. And when you see the amount of steroids that are made, does everyone think they're for people that have anemia or AIDS or wasting away? No, professional athletes, people who just want to look better and feel better, want to be at the top of their game, kind of a thing. So our society is always striving to optimize every part of our lives. And that's what sexual wellness is too. Because I tell people, how many people spend hundreds of dollars a month getting their hair colored and hair cut a certain way? They spend $100 a month having the latest and greatest fashion. They spend hundreds of dollars a month getting a private trainer, going to a gym, taking Pilates classes. All that is done. Let's be quite honest. You can say, oh, my self-esteem. A lot of that's done to find a good partner, to attract a good partner so that you're at your absolute peak. Why don't we spend just half of what we're spending on everything else to make sure you keep that partner by having a sexually satisfying relationship, by having good intimacy, by having a situation where you're not apprehensive or, oh, I hope I can please him or her, that kind of a thing, where you're confident and, you're really, on top of your game in your own mind, so that you're not second guessing and you're not riddled with anxiety.
Yeah, the question that I found when I was researching on you is that it's really a question, what makes someone good in bed, that has nothing to do with performance? And I hate that word performance. I wish there was another word that we could use. It's not we're not performing, we're making love with each other. Right? So,
Exactly. Well, people ask me, in fact, I was doing a podcast yesterday and she said, what's the most important thing you can bring? And she was referring to which one of our products to make yourself better in bed. I said, it's not something you can buy on a website. It's not something we make. It's called communication, open, honest communication with your partner.
yeah,
And so many times you have, I call it the layering effect. A woman's like, oh, that's uncomfortable when he touches me there. And, and the guy's thinking, oh, this is my go-to move. Oh, this is great. It's, it's easier for women to please men than it is for men to please women for this reason. Okay. The next man I meet that'll go, I don't like oral sex will be the first. Okay. I've never met a man who goes, I don't like someone performing oral sex on me. The question is, do I lose my mind over it? Is it the best thing in the world or is it the second best thing in the world? Guys love that. There, having been a male my entire life and having been single my entire life, I can tell you this: women's body chemistries and physiologies are vastly different from woman to woman.
no
I have
kidding.
encountered women in my life, they're like, oh, I'm really sensitive. I have a very sensitive clitoris and my vulva. Just lightly touch around, this particular area because anything else makes me uncomfortable. I've
Yeah.
met women who are like, I have a hooded clitoris, I have this, I have that. Take a cinder block, put sandpaper on it, and rub as hard as you can. And I'm like, how could this be the same species or gender? You know what I mean? It's really, really different. And that's why I tell men, leave your ego at the door. Don't think when you have a new partner that you're like, I know exactly how to please you. You couldn't possibly know exactly how to please her. You've never been with her. And a lot of women have different uh, needs and different feelings.
Yeah.
Another thing that I tell a lot of our men, a lot of our male customers, is I say, communicate and be very open and go to the next layer. Because a lot of women will say initially, I'm uncomfortable with a man going down on me. And it has nothing to do with they don't feel pleasure. They certainly do. They have a lot of anxiety. Do I taste okay? Do I smell okay? Oh, all these types of things. And I say to a lot of men, if you just, when they go, oh, I don't like that, or I'm uncomfortable with that, if you stop there, you might be denying her and yourself of a lot of pleasure that if you just went to the next level and go, why? Why does it make you uncomfortable? And if she says, well, taste or smell, well, give me enough credit that if there is an issue there, we'll discuss it and we'll figure out a way around it. Or if you're really that uncomfortable, we can avoid it. But at least let's have the opportunity to explore. Let's at least have the opportunity to find out why and maybe open that part of the relationship up.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of rules. I've been matchmaking since 1990. I don't have a lot of rules, but I do have a strong recommendation about sex. I just say keep your pants on until you're both have the same primary dating purpose. If one person's just like reeling from a divorce and just playing around and just sort of like seeing who's out there and wants to have a casual kind of a thing, and the other person's ready for the last love of their life, well, there are going to be misunderstandings if you just jump right into the bedroom. Oxytocin's involved, feelings, all that. So I love it if people will be grown-ups about the sex part. And if they are sensuous people and they slip into the bedroom a little before maybe they should, if that's been their pattern, have daytime dates, don't drink alcohol on your dates, get to know each other, including having a conversation up front before you go south of the border. Keep your pants on. Having a conversation about, well, let's talk about sex. What's your relationship with sex like? And what do you like? I mean, are you comfortable moving into the bedroom within the first 4 or 5 dates of knowing somebody? Are you the lady who needs a year? I mean, and what kind of sex do you like? I mean, if you can't talk about it, we probably shouldn't be doing it yet. If we can't talk about STDs, if we can't talk about birth control, how about we keep our pants on a little while longer and learn how to communicate better? That would
I
solve
tell
some.
that to people all the time. You should never put yourself in a position where you're intimate and you're not even comfortable asking basic questions yet.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I've always been very traditional in the fact that I like monogamous relationships and I like to be extremely comfortable. I crave intimacy, but under the right circumstances where there's a comfort level and I feel bonded to the person. And you should never feel like you have to sleep with one eye open. this person next to me is a stranger. I don't even trust I'm going to wake up and be bound and gagged and are going to be taking all my,
Did I put my wallet in the
valuables.
safe? Right?
Yeah,
Oh my.
exactly. So I'm of that same mindset that I'm very open and I like to communicate. And I really and truly don't want a stranger in my bed. I
Good.
don't want to be waking up and going, oh my God, you know, I wasn't careful enough last night. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know this person's sexual history. I don't know. Should I immediately go get tested for something? That's just not something in this day and age that you need to expose yourself to. There's enough knowledge out there. There's really it's easy enough to find, protection. It's easy enough to find birth control. And you should not be waking up the next morning going, what did I just do? Oh my God, we better get the morning after pill. We better get this. We better get that. That's
Yeah.
just hopefully the majority of people are intelligent enough to make the proper steps prior to that so that those uncomfortable conversations, and in some cases they're not even conversations, you go, oh my God, I better go do this because I don't know enough about the person.
Yeah, I love it if there's suspense and mystery, and we're building
Yes.
the interest and the intrigue. And I like it when it happens this way. Couples have, they've gotten together a few times, they've gotten to know each other. They know that they are dating for the same reasons. Their timing is good for both of them. The attraction level is there. Enough of the important things line up. And then maybe it's time to start thinking about a sleepover, or maybe it's time to start thinking about, an overnight up in Santa Barbara or something. And it's clear that what's going to happen is you're going to sleep in the same bed and probably some whoop-de-doo action is going
Yeah.
to be happening. So that's the time to be open and honest with your partner about all of this stuff. And if we can't talk about it, just keep our pants on a little while longer. You can sleep in the same bed and not take your pants off. It's hard. You
Yeah.
might end up with somebody like my husband, Mr. Ferman, who said, well, we'll just stay over here tonight. Don't go back home. Just stay over. We'll take our clothes off, but we won't do anything. And I'm like, does that work for you most of the
Yeah.
time? Are
No,
we
that's
falling?
that's your intention,
Yeah,
but it,
yeah, right.
you have more willpower than me if you're like, we're going to take all our clothes off, but we're not going to do
Oh my
anything.
God.
There's just a
So,
certain, but I'll tell you, that has a higher probability of happen when you're in your 50s or 60s than it does when
right.
you're 20 or 30. Okay.
And
Because,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
you're
actually
just
what I
on
wanted to bring up.
autopilot at that age. It's just happening.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Um, as I've been doing this for so many decades, the people I'm working with today are older than they used to be 35 years ago. I'm 65 now, and I find that most of the people in my world that I'm working closely with are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And I've never seen this so much before, Jeff, where women starting in their 50s, more so in their 60s, big time in their 70s, they're asking me for younger men. Part of it I know to be related to this. Um, and it's not a natural match. The percentage of men who have checked the box even 1 year older than he is on my matchmaking profiles, and this is over 45,000 people I get to watch statistics. The percentage of men who are asking me for an older woman, even by 1 year, it's like less than 2%. You guys don't think you're supposed to be dating older, so I don't reveal age on profiles. And
Yes.
I know from asking women, well, how come you want to date the younger guy? Well, the last guy had ED issues, and it just sex wasn't that good, and I'm still really I have strong libido and I want somebody who can match my energy. Well, that's all lovely, but the second question I want to ask her is there only one way that you can achieve ultimate satisfaction in sex? Can you only have an orgasm through vaginal penetration? What percentage of women would you say that's true for, Jeff? I'm dying to know your answer.
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I talk to sexual researchers all day, every day, urologists, therapists. Probably about 40% of women
Okay. All right.
regularly achieve. And I'll be honest with you, even a lot of those women that achieve it do it with, because they have a bullet vibrator where they're doing direct stimulation on the clitoris, even during sex. So I always tell people, if your expectation is to have good sex, both people have to simultaneously climax during vaginal intercourse, you're in the 5 or 10% range. It's absurd. Okay. You
Yeah.
can, whether it's with a vibrator or, oral sex or digitally with fingers, there's many different ways to climax. So don't have a definition that the sex has to be mutual climax during uh, vaginal sex. You're going to be in a 5 or 10% range. It's asinine. And another thing I tell people is quit watching freaking porn and having that as your expectation. I'm glad that I'm 68 because if I would have come of age sexually, I lost my virginity when I was 15, believe it or not, to a 21-year-old. I was a busboy. She was a waitress at this country club.
Oh,
And if I was so uninitiated, I think it lasted 37 seconds. I thought I was King Kong. I was beating my chest. Oh my God, what a great lover I am. Because I had never seen porn. Of course, that was, I'm 68, so that was 55 or 53 years ago. There wasn't cell phones. There wasn't internet, for God's sakes. If I would have seen porn, and my expectation would have been the average man had a 10-inch penis. It was the circumference of a beer can. He could thrust for 45 minutes, and right before he climaxed, he got up, ran across the room, and shot his partner in the forehead with deadly accuracy. I would have been so riddled with anxiety. Oh my God, I am so inadequate. Like I can't, I don't measure up to that. Okay.
right.
But I stumbled through and went, hey, this is good. I feel like I've done a great job,
Yeah.
And I tell a lot of younger people these days, don't ever think that porn is representative of real intimacy and real sex. We're very fortunate because Johnny Sins, AVN's Male Porn Star of the Year, loves our products and he has done a lot of videos and stuff for us. And he laughs and says, what you see in porn is ridiculous. They have to take 42 takes, you know what I mean? And guys
Yeah.
are on ED beds, guys are using all these different techniques, and they have to do different angles and cut the different things. And it's like so different than people think. And I go, it's really strange with sex because no one watches the NBA and feels like they need to go out and do a 360 windmill dunk and they have a 40-inch vertical leap. No one watches Major League Baseball and the average person goes, I got to hit a baseball 400 feet, No one,
Yeah.
watches hockey and goes, I got to skate 100 miles an hour. But why is it with sex and porn that people go, oh my God, that's fantasy. Okay.
Right.
There's a
Right.
script, there's a director, they're cutting, they're editing, you know what I mean? And so don't have that as an expectation of intimacy. How about if we start with the expectation of intimacy as they're both partners, both achieving climax eventually and enjoying themselves and feeling bonded in a relationship? It's not an Olympic event. What's the Russian judge holding up? 9.9. You know what I mean? Well, you didn't last long enough. It's the Finnish judge holding up 9.7. Your penis is only normal size. You know what I mean? Get out of the mindset. And I'm like you, don't use the word performance. Okay.
Mhm.
Because then it's not about intimacy and connection anymore. It's like an Olympic event. And
Yeah.
how
That's
many
right.
people, how many normal people are Olympians? 0.00000001, So let's
Yeah.
make it how long do a pair of pants have to be? Long enough to fit. Everyone's inseam is different. Let's look at sexuality the same way. Are you able to satisfy your partner in a way that she looks forward to and has plenty of orgasms? Same thing for you. And I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I'm a man and not a woman, okay? Because women literally have the most unrealistic expectations put on them sexually. You have to be sexually, you have to be able to satisfy your partner, but you can't be too sexual. Where'd you learn that? Oh my God, you're a tramp. Oh my God, you're this. Oh my God, you're that. And why is it that men are viewed that if you have a lot of partners, you're a stud, you're a player, you're to be admired, you're to be revered? But if a woman has a lot of partners, oh my God, you're a tramp, you're a slut. Oh my God, how dare you? You can't satisfy a man and keep a man. It is so unfair. It's
Yes, it
ridiculous. And
is.
like I said, a woman has to be sensual and has to please her man, but not intimidate him. You know what I mean? The male ego is so fragile that women have to walk on eggshells.
I was thinking about a situation recently with a couple that's together, and she admitted to me one of the challenges that they're having in the bedroom, she's having in the bedroom, because he's kind of she describes him as having a bit of insecurity. And so he has to be like the man, and he has to be the one on top. He has to be the one doing things the way he knows how to do them. Well, her favorite way is to be on top. Me too,
Yes.
because I know my body and I know what works. And if I want to have like, I don't know, 8 orgasms, well, there's a certain way that that can happen. And it happens with me being on top because I can control how
You
things are happening.
know exactly if you're on top. You can control the level, the angle, you control what's
Yeah.
hitting what, where things are
Yeah.
going. And I guess because of my age and having done this and everything else, I have no ego. I'm like, let's bring a vibrator in. You know what I mean? If
Thank
God
God.
forbid, if it takes a Shetland pony, let's get him up the stairs. You know what I mean? It's like whatever we need to do for you to have the most intense and the largest number of orgasms, I'm down for it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've always felt that you're paying it forward. If your woman has many intense orgasms, she's going to go, I'm taking care of this guy. I'm making sure he does as well. He's funny. He makes a good living. He's a good protector, good provider. He satisfies me. I'm making sure he's not going anywhere, not looking anywhere else. So in some cases, I tell a lot of our customers, a lot of men, and unfortunately, a lot of my friends now, they come to me for advice. They're going, you do this for a living. Okay, what's it? I always tell them, I always say one thing: pay it forward. If you're sensitive and you're in tune with your partner, you get treated like Gandhi. Oh my God, here's a guy that thinks of everyone in the world before himself. In reality, you're paying it forward. You're making sure that you're going to be satisfied. So take the credit, take a bow, and go, oh my God, everything's about you, knowing that you're literally, to a certain degree, just making sure you're going to get yours.
It's really amazing. There's a question that I came upon, and I wonder what you'll say about it. The hardest truth about sexual wellness that people don't want to hear.
The hardest truth about sexual wellness that people don't want to hear. I would say, in my case and in my experience, is everyone's not a sexual superstar. Everyone doesn't have to go to this insane level, whether it's how long you have sex, whether it's how big your penis is, whether it's how tight your vagina is. I think the people don't want to hear it's okay to be average. It's okay to literally work within the limitations that you have to achieve a goal that isn't based on what you think it's based on. I remember I saw a poll. This is the craziest thing. It's when I first took over this company. I think it must have been about 2013, 2014. It was done by Cosmo. And it said they asked 1,000 men, what is the most important thing you could do if you could increase, your lovemaking ability, and what would bring, the greater to your success? I think 78% of men said bigger penis. And then they asked 1,000 women, what is the one thing that would really help, you have better intimacy? And it was almost identical. It was like 2% less. 76% of women said a longer time of duration during intercourse where their men weren't lasting long enough. And I go, how is anything more instructive than that? That you have men and women, and obviously they're not speaking because the guy's going, I want a bigger dick. And the woman's going, why don't you just last a little longer? You might not need a bigger dick. You know what I mean? If you really took your time. And I was just thinking to myself, oh my God, is there anything else that two people are involved in? If it's a heterosexual couple, there's obviously man and women are completely focused on something different. And it's obvious they're not talking, because if they were talking, they would both have the same answer.
And
And
it's
that,
hard for us to say, oh, honey, I just wish you could just stay hard a little longer. I just never get to where it's hard to do. So that's my
oh,
next
let me
question
tell you
is,
something. This is really relevant. So a lot of podcasts I've done 370, I think now, and they're interactive where they have call in. Okay. And I always say, as soon as they go, okay, we're going to take some calls, I whisper to the host, there's going to be half of these calls are going to be women. They go, well, the subject, because back then we only had one product for a lot of these. So it was the delay spray. And they go, how could you know what, there's going to be half the women and you're going to know what they're going to ask? I go, trust me, half of the calls will be women. And here's exactly what they're going to ask. We need this in our relationship. How can I bring up without hurting my partner's feelings? And
yeah,
they go, okay, they take the calls. First call, it's Janice from Jonesboro, Arkansas. Okay, Janice, you're on with Jeff. Yeah. Jeff, I'm in a great relationship. I love my partner. But I just wish that he lasted a little bit longer. And I know you guys have this product. How can I bring it up without hurting his feelings? And that's one of the reasons why I tell you the male ego is so fragile. You know what I mean? That, oh my God, we need this, but how can I bring it up? I tell him the same thing every time. I go set up a 50 Shades of Grey night, a fantasy night, get a riding crop and a feather duster and a blindfold and a bottle of Promescent. That way, it's not a singular thing. It's like, oh my God, you don't last long enough. You're not pointing the finger and making someone feel inadequate. Just say, we're having this fantasy night. I want it to last as long as possible. So, this is an extraordinary night. And I tell him, if you get him to use this product one time, you will never have to get him to use it again. Men love control. Men, just like you said, the woman you're counseling, I got to be on top. I got to be on control. I got to be this. I got to be that. I will tell you this. A man loves control. It's innate in us from the time we're young. You are going to provide, protect your female. You're the one in charge. I tell people, if you see a couple driving down the road and the woman is driving, the first thing that crosses my mind, that guy had a DUI and lost his license, okay? Because guys never want to be the passenger and have the woman driving. If you go over a couple's house and you're going to watch TV, whatever, who has the remote? It's the guy. You can't take that remote out of his hands with the jaws of life, okay? Men love to be in control. And if a man who has been acutely aware of, oh my God, she's not there yet, I got to keep focusing, oh, don't, no, not yet. You have him use Promescent, you have him use a delay spray, and all of a sudden he's like, it switches from can I last long enough to do I want to give her 1 or 2 or 3 orgasms before we're done? He's going to go, I love this feeling of being in control and me deciding when I'm going to finish rather than be on, I call it the walking on eggshells. Oh my God, not yet. No, 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 not yet. She's not there yet kind of a thing. No one loves that feeling. Everyone loves the feeling like I'm in control. Okay, I will decide when I'm going to ejaculate.
So the first product is the spray. What do you call it?
Delay spray, men's delay spray, Promescent
Delay
delay
spray.
spray.
Love it. So that's the first product. And so you just spray it and it just lasts
You
longer.
spray it on the frenulum, which is the underside of the head of the penis, and
Uh-huh.
then you wait 7 to 10 minutes. That's great foreplay. Go down on your woman, bring out a vibrator, whatever. Because there were other delay sprays that existed before us. There's been some that came after us, but we have a patented formula where we changed the crystalline structure of lidocaine. So it's in its native form, it's like a grain of salt. It's a solid. It sits on the surface of the skin, and then it also transfers to your partner. So not only are you numb, but she's numb. I go, you might as well take hot yoga or spin class. Everybody's thrusting, everybody's moving, everybody's sweating, but no one's climaxing. Not a good ending. So I tell people that the reason this product is so unique, we changed the crystalline structure of lidocaine from a solid to oil aqueous. So when you apply it, it goes subdermal, it goes beneath the surface of the skin. So the man maintains a much higher degree of surface sensitivity without being numb, and it doesn't transfer to the female. But use that 7 to 10 minute time frame to literally have foreplay, to get your partner a lot closer. And it almost reminds you, okay, it's time for a little pregame here. You know what I mean? Let's tailgate.
Yeah.
Let's get ready for the game. Let's get ready for the action. That led us, because we had such a loyal following, always repeat customers, there were a lot of men that said to us, hey, I wasn't using a lube when I was lasting 30 seconds. I last 10 minutes now. I need some lube. So then we went out, we developed a lube. And then it was
Yeah.
like, it took off immediately. And
Beautiful.
then we had a lot of people that said to us, I need something for my wife too, And so we developed these arousal gels that bring warmth and higher libido to females. Those
Ooh.
took off. And then I realized I had something very unique because we do a large part of our business through our own website. We're on Amazon. We're the #1 best-selling product. We're in Target, Walmart, CVS. We're in Meijer, which I think is probably some of your areas. It's a department store, kind of a Walmart store in Michigan, Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin. We're in HEB, which is a chain in Texas. We're in Wegmans. So there's all these different places, but I learn a lot through our website because I have interactive ability with my customers. If you're on Amazon, we have no idea who we're selling to. All we get are these stats. If it's retail, all you know is we've sold X amount of bottles here. Our website, we know customer histories. We can see how they navigate, what they buy, their repeat business. They start buying cross products. So I always communicate with them. And whenever we introduce a new product, I always send out a thing to our database, and the first 100 people that buy the product get an email. Oh, we've been known. I see you've been buying our Promescent delay spray. What gave you the confidence to buy female arousal gel? Or what gave you the confidence? Because we have a line of proprietary vibrators now. What gave you the confidence to buy these other products? I swear to God, it's like the same person wrote every one and just changed the wording a little bit. And here's exactly what the substance of the responses are. I knew if it was on this site that it's top quality and you guys stand behind it 100%. So I felt very confident and comfortable when you introduced this, because this is something I was using anyhow, but I figure why not get it here where I have this confidence and this trust built up. And so I realized that the key to our success is that people view us as having the best of breed. No matter what product we introduce, we will not introduce it unless it's as good, if not better, than everything else in that category. That's why sometimes when people say to me, how many new products are you going to introduce this year? My response is somewhere between 0 and 5. They go, what? Shouldn't you literally have a goal of like 3 products? I go, no, because if I do that and then it's halfway through the year or 3/4 through the year and I haven't found a product that's as good or not better, I'm going to be pressured into go, oh, I got to meet my goal. I got to introduce a product. I'm very comfortable introducing 0. I'm very comfortable introducing 5, but they have to meet the criteria of what has been the basis of our success, which is it's as good, if not better, than anything else in this space. So that's what we've done. And this 60-day money back guarantee that we have for any reason is a real positive, because it allows people to say, this is a risk-free venture on my part. There's no downside. If I love it, I buy it, I continue to use it. If I don't, I get a full refund. No questions asked. Now, I will tell you something. It's something you live with. It's a bit disappointing, but we've had people that bought the same product 3 times, use a different email address, say, I was uncomfortable, I didn't like this product. I'll live with that for the 1 or 2% of dirtbags that are out there that are obviously loving the product
Perfect.
and setting it once to their work, setting it once to their home with a different, but you go, come on, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but that's
Right.
just, we live in a society where that's just part of certain things you have to deal with. And we're certainly willing to deal with that. But the basis of our success, and we were founded by a urologist who I dearly loved, and was one of my best friends. And we've kept that mantra. There's a sad part of this story is he's a wonderful human being, but right when I was taking over the company and he was continuing to be our chief medical officer, he was murdered in a case of mistaken identity. Someone who had a prostate surgery decided he was going to kill the doctor, went to the VA headquarters to find out who had done his surgery 23 years prior. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember what microfiche was when before they had the
Oh,
internet.
yeah.
He went and it was on microfiche, and the guy that did the surgery got the name wrong. It was slightly same first name, different last name, and murdered the wrong guy. And the crazy part was the guy that had done the surgery had died 2 years prior of a heart attack. And so Ron was
Unbelievable.
murdered. So I've done this to give him a legacy. And one of the reasons I tell the story and bring up his name, Dr. Ronald Gilbert, each and every podcast or Sirius Radio interview that I do, is to honor him. And it's been a real blessing. We've been extremely profitable, and his family still owns a significant portion of this company. And every 3 months, I hand them a very nice dividend check. And eventually, when we get acquired, I'll hand them a big check. So that it came to me that I almost left about 3 months after he was murdered. I did it, and I was involved in the company because he was my friend and I loved him. And I was like, it's just not the same. And I remember I was in my office in Huntington Beach. That's where I lived at the time. And I started crying. I was just upset. And I used to wake up for the first 3 months after this happened, praying that I was dreaming and it was a nightmare and it wasn't real. And then, of course, it would hit me that indeed it was real. And I almost left and said, someone else has to do this. I can't do this. Then I thought to myself, I can't unring that bell. I can't bring him back. Okay. The only 2 things in my control are give him a legacy, make this company very successful so he will be remembered and people will know who he was. That's number 1. Number 2, provide for his family. After what they've been through, if I can give them at least the ability not to have stress and worries financially, that meant something to me. And
That's
I've
beautiful.
been successful on both counts. And it's very meaningful to me. It really does. It means
I
something
can
to me.
tell. It's really beautiful. Couple of questions I have time for. One of them is about prostate issues. I hear a lot from men and women both. I see a lot of men just sort of like opt out of dating. And then I'll check in with them. How come you're not saying yes to any introductions? How come you're not? And it gets kind of quiet. And I'll just go ahead and ask,
Do you have prostate issues?
how's your prostate, darling? Do you still have it? You know, what's the deal? So what's your experience been like post prostate surgery all over the board? Some men are like, no, I'm good. I take the shot thing or I take the pill and it's good. Some people are like, I don't like the pill, makes me nauseous, whatever. What's your experience like?
Men without prostates are challenged sexually. Make no mistake about it. If they tell you they're not, they're lying. The prostate is the gland where everything flows through. The ejaculatory response, the erectile function, it's not the end. Okay. Just like you said earlier, there are many things you can do. There are pumps you can have inserted. There are different ways you can take shots. You will never, ever be as virile after prostate surgery as you are after. It is an impossible thing to say, oh, it made no difference. It's literally, it's the intersection. It's the gateway where all the sexual and urinary functions come in through. So it is, and also people can be incontinent after losing their prostate, having prostate surgery. And they
Yes,
can have massive leakage,
that's
where you urinate and you think you're done and your pants are wet. You know what I mean? So, and that
or
ties
a
into
woman's
sexual.
doing something really kind and she's doing oral sex with you, and all of a sudden she gets a mouthful of something else.
Yes, a mouthful of urine. You know what I mean? And that is another thing that is because when men lose their prostate, they don't ejaculate anymore. There's no more semen because that's where everything is produced. So what can happen is when you have an orgasm, you release urine. Your bladder empties as opposed to having the seminal vesicles. And
Right.
that obviously is not a pleasant situation, you know?
Not
Uh,
exactly. So the other question that, well, I just want to say something about this prostate situation. One of my dear friends, big libido, she and her husband, great sex all the times, always been that way. He had his prostate removed. He takes the shot. They have date night every Friday night, and everything's great. You know, it doesn't mean that they didn't have to make adaptations, but I encourage people. And that relates to the last question I really want to ask you, which has to do with communication. What are the conversations that couples should be having so that they don't just end up being separate and not engaging in this
the
anymore? What conversation?
conversations they should have. Are you fully expressing yourself? Do you feel comfortable, comfortable and confident in our relationship that you're not going to go, oh my God, what's he going to think if I shout out this? What's he going to think if this is how I react? Okay, that's number one. Number two, are there things that you literally go, I wish you'd do that? Don't wish it, say it. Okay.
Yeah,
Are there also things you go, I wish he wouldn't do that? And you
yeah,
go, oh my God, I don't want to hurt his feelings. Go, I know you think that's great, but it's kind of making me uncomfortable. Or it's just nothing. Quit doing it because it's not doing anything. Okay.
right.
Same thing in reverse for a man. If you're like, oh God, you know what I mean? Like, your technique is just leaves a little bit to be desired. You know what I mean? Like, so say I
I'm thinking
like
of a
very
Seinfeld
pressured.
episode right now.
Exactly. So
The
the thing
circle, the
is
swirl.
that that's exactly. The thing is, it can't get better unless you know that something is uncomfortable. They're
Yeah,
going to keep doing it if you don't say anything. So take a chance and believe in your partner enough to go, he's going to want to know. I'm a voyeur. I freely admit it. For a time I was 4 years old, I was always fascinated. Every time I see an attractive woman, I go, I wonder what she looks like without her clothes on. You know what I mean? And I swear to God, and I'm 60, about to turn 69. That's never changed. Every single time I see a good looking woman, first thing I think of, I'm imagining her without her clothes on. I don't care if someone goes, you're a pervert. That's me. That's who I am. It's part of
it's
my
not just
being.
you, Jeff. There are a lot of guys like that. They just don't have the courage to bring it up because it makes women uncomfortable.
Yeah. So I I've always felt like that. And one of the things that I love to do early on in a relationship and you find out one way, it's either, yeah, that's a turn on, or like, oh my God, I'll say to a woman, would you masturbate for me and allow me to kind of be the silent witness kind of, and then, I love it when they're like, oh my
Confronting.
God, that's like great.
That's
And
confronting. Yeah.
then when someone goes, oh my God, I would never do that. I'm like, oh, this ain't gonna last long. You know what I mean? Like, that's the first thing I think. Because of this, women's bodies, like I said, are so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
It
they're
helps you
so,
learn.
yeah. So I'm eventually going to learn over a month, 2 month, 3 months. Oh my God, this is the kind of pressure you like. This you like to be touched here, don't like to be touched there. Or you can give me the cheat code and allow me to watch. You're not going to touch yourself in ways you're not comfortable. You are going to touch yourself in exactly the way that you want to be touched. So I would love the idea that I could find that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By
Beautiful.
having you show me. But I
Yeah.
will tell you that even me, as uninhibited and everything else, they go, okay, now you next. I'm like, oh God, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
still a stigma with men. I swear to God, there's still a stigma with men that they feel uncomfortable. You know,
This is goofy, but I've had this situation happen before where there's a couple and the guy really, really wants, for the same reason you just mentioned, he wants to see what does it for her. And she wouldn't do it, she wouldn't do it. And we had a call about it. And she said, my face does all this strange contorting stuff. And I said, well, why don't you just make it so he can't see your face?
yeah,
And she
just
was
do it
like,
from the neck down.
yeah, just, put a bag over your head so
Yeah.
he can see. Just put something so we can't see.
Put the
And then
pillow, put the pillow cover over your head,
he's
put the
like,
sheet over your head.
I don't care what your face looks like.
Well,
I
I
want
was
to
just going to
know
say, if it was me,
you.
I'd go, I wouldn't even know what facial expressions you were making because I'd be focused somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, this is a weird thing. I've never had these conversations on the podcast before, but it's so funny. There are times when a guy will be, doing his thing down there, going down on a woman, and he's looking up at her face, and that's intimidating. I'd rather you can't do that, right?
No,
Because
because it
then I'm
makes
going to
her
be
uncomfortable.
self-conscious.
She
Right.
might say, oh my God, I can't make my Daffy Duck face. You know what I mean? Because he's looking right at me. You know what I mean? I better make sure my eyeballs aren't rolling around in my head. He might think. Or
Right.
if you
Exactly.
start yawning, then that might be a
Oh.
turn off too. Like, okay, why don't you come up north? You're really not doing it down there for me.
So there's this one couple that had to wait to get married
Yeah.
because his divorce wasn't final yet. And I will tell women, do not miss the opportunity to meet a good man because he's waiting for the divorce to be final. If there's resources involved, significant resources, it might take a while.
It might take a while. And
So,
he's essentially single. They're just waiting for the paperwork to catch up.
exactly. And so I coached her in this. I said, don't miss the opportunity to be with this guy. So during that time, it was about 8 or 9 months before they could actually get married. They got married the next day that he got his divorce decree. And so during that time, he would ask her, so I know we're not going to have sex for a while, but you got to tell me what does it for you? What kind of sex do you like? And they had already talked about it. So when it finally was the time, they could do it. That's why I love these podcasts because you never know what you're going to get into.
No, absolutely. No, I'm a firm believer the more information you have prior, the higher the comfort level. And it'll get rid of some of the awkwardness.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So this is really interesting. They should go to your website. It's right behind you.
Here's what I tell people, even though I told you what retailers were available at, we're on Amazon, always started our website for this reason. Sorry about that. Always started on our website for this reason. Uh, it's a situation that if you go to our website, there are blogs, there are physicians, urologists, and therapists that have specific uh, tutorials telling you what products to use, how to properly use them. So go to the website and educate yourself. It's promescent.com, Promescent. So go there and get educated. Make sure you're buying the right product for the right reason and make sure you're using it correctly to have the highest probability of having a good experience.
Right.
After that, I could care less where you get it. We're very comfortable buying it anywhere. But buy the right product for the right reason and use it and dose it correctly so that you have the highest probability. This company's success is built on people gradually discovering us, buying the products, using them correctly, and then buying them over and over again, and then going, hey, Their delay spray is great. What about this vibrator looks good? These female arousal gels are good. One of the reasons we've grown every year is because we continue to escalate. We continue to just add products, and we continue to have this loyal base of repeat customers. And our goal isn't to sell one or two bottles to 10 million different people, you know? So
Right.
our goal is specifically to slowly increase this base of satisfied users who tell their friends. I remember when all we had was delay spray. It was the funniest thing. It was we have this thing called Zig Poll, where after people buy, about 8 to 10% of people fill it out. How did you find us? Blah, blah, blah. It was always my urologist recommended, because we started off early on in the urologist community. Then it would be, I saw this blog post, I saw this. Never, ever referred by a friend. Never. Okay. Because you were pretty much identifying yourself as a premature ejaculator. If you
Yeah.
went, hey, try this product, it's only one. But as we went into female arousal gel and vibrators, and we have another product called VitaFlux for both men and women, which is a nitric oxide supplement, which is dynamite. It increases libido, increases blood flow, decreases blood pressure. It has both sexual and non-sexual benefits. It's dynamite. We have probably 20-25% of people now that buy our product put on their referred by a friend or family member. Is that incredible? We went from zero, because now you're not identifying yourself as a premature ejaculator. You're basically saying, I want better intimacy. And here's this
Yeah.
whole range of products that we have that people use.
Beautiful.
And
Well,
20% of our business is now female, and that part of our business is growing.
that's wonderful. I really appreciate your being so open and honest and forthcoming about all these juicy subjects. Promescent,
This
beautiful.
is our lifeline. I'll be honest with you, the pleasure is all ours being here. I hate the idea. People go, oh, you can run a banner ad, you can do this, oh my God, run this, meta ad. Anyone can do that and go, we have this great product. You don't know how many people that use that Zigpol thing, go, I heard your CEO on this podcast. The guy is sincere, he's passionate. I'm going to try these products. And I'm crazy, because I literally go through every single order, even as big as we are now. I take about a half hour a day, and I'm like scrolling through, and I see someone, and I send out a personal email. I go, hey, I read your thing. I'm really happy. Here's my personal cell phone. Here's my thing. Give me a shout. Send me an email. Tell me how. And they're like, is that really you? I go, call the number right now. I answer. I go, oh my God, that is you. I go, this is how I build this company. I need to talk to people, and I want feedback, positive, negative. There's no product in the world that's going to have 100% success rate.
Right.
None.
Yeah.
Whether it's cancer, whether it's, diabetes, or nothing works 100% of the time. We have about a 75% satisfaction rate. About 75% of people who use our products go, oh my God, this is fantastic.
You're
But the
honest.
other
You're not gonna pretend
25%,
that right.
yeah, you get it back. And this is the one thing I want to close on, and I think is extremely important. Let's take the shame out of the bedroom, okay? When we talk about using sexual enhancement products, people's physiologies are different. You can go through prostatitis, low testosterone. There's just so many different things, prostate surgery, that that can affect you.
Yeah.
Hypersensitivity to penile nerves. I'll leave you with this. Would a cancer patient ever be embarrassed about using chemo or doing chemo? Of course not. Would a diabetic ever be self-conscious about using insulin? Of course not. Why are we so crazy about using anything to supplement and have better intimacy and better sexual wellness? The answer is we shouldn't. You
That's
want the best of every area of your life, this included. And like I said earlier, don't spend $200 a month getting a haircut and a color and everything else. Don't spend $300 a month on your private Pilates lessons and your personal trainer. Don't spend, on diets and exercise and everything else, and leave the one area, because you're doing all that to attract a partner. Spend as much time and energy on keeping that partner and having good intimacy.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jeff, for your time and your suggestions. I know my listeners will be very happy to hear this, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, you get out there and transform me to we, and that we should be a lasting thing, and this will help you. Thank you so much.